Hi, my name is Genesis Reese, and I'm doing this video for my Intro to Criminal Justice class. It's on my term paper, which I did on how criminal cases work. I started my essay by explaining what is a crime. There's two types of crimes. Well, there's multiple crimes, but normally a crime includes offenses against people or property. Secondly, I explained what is the criminal justice system and what components make the criminal justice system. And we have our law enforcement, which are police officers, prosecution and defense attorneys, our courts and corrections, and they all play a huge part of the process. You have your law enforcement, who are the first to arrive at the scene. They essentially take reports, investigate the crime, collect evidence, and often make arrests. You have your prosecution, who represent the state or federal government. They review the evidence to see whether charges need to be filed. They negotiate plea bargains with defendants. And then you have your defense attorneys, who protect the accused. The defendant either has the option of hiring one, or one will be appointed to him by the court. You have your judges, who make up the court system. They set bail, they accept the plea agreements, and they sentence the convicted offenders. And lastly, you have your corrections officers, who supervise the convicted offenders. Their job is to maintain the facility safe and secure for the inmates. And it is important to understanding what a crime is and what makes up the criminal justice system to understand the process that takes place in the court during a criminal case. Okay, so to start the process, it all starts with a report of the incident. The officer investigates the crime to find any evidence and links the evidence with the individual, and then can make an arrest if sufficient evidence is found. The evidence goes to the prosecution, which examines it and considers it and determines if it's sufficient evidence to file charges or not. In the first court appearance, the accused will be informed of the charges and his or her rights. The judge will decide if he or she can post bail at that time. The defendant is brought before the judge to be informed of the charges and his or her rights. If they plead guilty, not guilty, or no contest, no trial is held, and the accused is later sentenced. If he pleads not guilty, a trial is set for later. And that process is called the arraignment. In felony cases such as murder, after the arraignment, defendants have the right to have their case heard by a grand jury, which means that a jury of citizens must hear the evidence presented by the prosecutor and decide whether there is enough evidence to indict the accused of the crime. In other cases, the accused may have to appear at a preliminary hearing in court, where the judge may hear the evidence and the defendant is formally indicted or released. And then you have your trial process. Defendants in criminal cases have the right to have a jury of their peers decide their guilt or innocence. Sometimes the cases are resolved by plea agreements rather than trials. A plea agreement means that the defendant has agreed to plead guilty to one or more charges in exchange for the following lesser charges. During the trial process, a prosecutor and defense attorney present evidence and question witnesses. There could be numerous trials depending on the seriousness of the crime and the abundant evidence, if there's no time to sum it all up in one trial. If the judge finds the defendant not guilty, then the accused are usually released. If the verdict is guilty, the judge will set a date for later sentencing. And the last process is called the post-trial. In this step, the accused can appeal the case. It's sometimes difficult. Normally, when you appeal a case, you have to say that you have to have sufficient evidence that the trial was unfair, that it violated your rights, or there was not enough evidence for the final sentencing, for the final conviction. Okay, at the end, the judge can assign restitution, fines, probation, jail, or prison, or the death penalties as punishment. The criminal justice system is a little complex due to many steps and process, but that is what makes the system. It is important to understand each person's involvement during a case to better apprehend the system. Why is it important to have a criminal justice system? Well, according to Webster's dictionary, justice is defined as the establishment or determination of rights according to the rules of law or equity. Applied to society, criminal justice is a system that promises fairness and equal treatment to all under its guidance. Without a criminal justice system, we would rapidly decline into anarchy. The strong would take from the weak, the wealthiest among us would rewrite the laws to better serve their interests, and those who weren't strong or wealthy would be powerless against the powerful. Those who aren't strong or wealthy would be powerless against the powerful. I think that even though the justice system is not perfect, it is a protection against the rights that our founding fathers left us with. And that sums up my term paper. Thank you.